My name is Christopher and I have HSV2 down here, and this is a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. If you want less information, talk to a doctor. Now, this is the 3 reasons why you should not disclose your herpes status on the first date, unless you're having sex on the first date. Number 1 is going to be, there's no guarantee that you're going to like the person after the first date. Happens to me all the time, before and after I got herpes. So, just because you have chemistry online doesn't mean it translates to chemistry in person. And just because you meet up in person and you think you're gonna like them, doesn't mean you guys are gonna be compatible long term. And the majority of the time, I don't see people a second date, whether it's on them or it's on me. But this is typically what happens, and there's no point in disclosing your personal information on the first date if you don't see yourself seeing them a second time. Now, some people may disagree, but I truly believe that there's no point in doing that. And it's not really leading them on, because if you're wasting their time by not disclosing, aren't they wasting your time by just being on the date in general if you're not going forward with them? Works either way. Number 2 kind of feeds into the first one, which is you don't want to spend the entire first date worrying about when to disclose, how to disclose, when do I bring it up? Because if you're constantly worried about disclosing on the first date, you're not actually going to portray your authentic self to them, and you're probably not going to pay attention to the actual person or the date. You're going to be focused on, how do I insert my disclosure in here? Or when do I bring it up? Or is this the right time? When do I do it? They're not going to get the full experience of you. You're not going to get the full experience of them. That's why it doesn't really make sense to do that. Now, if you guys are going to take things physically somewhere, that's when you could bring it up on the first date. But a lot of times, things don't really escalate on the first date. That leads to point number 3, which is that I feel as though if you bring it up super duper soon on a first date, it's kind of going to reinforce the possibility that you've been rejected commonly in the past and you want to get it out of the way, or you want to just see if it's going to be a yes or a no. And oftentimes to me, that would maybe seem like a red flag, where it's why are you bringing this up right now? We haven't even said our name to each other. And while you could argue that it's a waste of time to not get it out of the way, I think that see how you guys react to each other. Is there a connection? Because oftentimes if they like you as a person, your herpes status is not gonna matter. You don't have to wait until weeks or months, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to bring it up so soon on a first date, because it might reinforce the idea that it's a bigger deal than it actually is. And it just helps to have some form of connection with them before you just start divulging your personal information. Because as judgmental as some people are, herpes could be less of a deal breaker than other personal things that your date hasn't even revealed to you yet. So try those 3 tips out. I don't really advise disclosing on a first date. You can feel free to argue or have differing opinions, but that's just what I think. It's worked for me in the past, and on times when I have disclosed on first dates, I've also kind of approached it with the same nonchalant, confident perspective of it just coming up organically, and less so about, okay, sit down, I have to tell you, get it out of the way now. When it comes to me disclosing, I never really think about it for more than a minute. I'm never preparing for a disclosure. It just kind of happens, because to me it's more about just telling you and less about, hey, we need to talk. So, love you, miss you, hope you're doing well. Extra help is going to be linked in the description box. See you guys later.